moving on to the final chapter of Divine Dreamers. And this chapter is from a woman named Stephanie Geerts, is how I think you say her last name. Hopefully that was relatively close. And the main part of her chapter that I want to focus on is a very interesting part of the chapter, essentially talking about superhuman abilities and specifically being able to see while blindfolded. Before getting to that, though, she talks about how she started practicing Qigong as a way to help get her more sensitive to the subtle energies around her, then also as a way just to help deepen her meditation practice. And so about 8 to 9 years ago, I got into Tai Chi for a little bit. Didn't last very long, maybe like 6 months to, a year at the most. I did really enjoy it though, and something I would tell people back then if I was talking to them about meditating, particularly if they're having problems getting into the practice in the classic sense of sitting still with your eyes open, is I would often recommend them to give Tai Chi a try, because when you get into the flow and the rhythm of the movements, it is a very meditative-like experience and process that you're going through. And then also kind of related, but a little bit off topic, is around that same time I was going to massage school. And so every once in a while throughout the year that I was in massage school, we'd have these days where we could pick different modalities and things to try out. And so one of the girls in the class was really interested in learning more about Reiki. And, up until this point, of course I heard of Reiki, but I didn't really know what it was. But it did definitely pique my interest. Even though the cards were stacked against me just with my Western-oriented belief system, upbringing, and mindset, right? It would take a lot for me to really believe it's a thing, but nonetheless, I'm still interested in trying to do it and all that. And while we were going through our one-day class of, trying out the Reiki healing method, I did kind of feel things at certain points, and it felt like I might actually be doing something. And, the people we were working on, which was just our different classmates and things like that, they would give some positive feedback, like they felt like something was happening. Now, was it really happening? Was it just the placebo effect? Who knows? But even if it is the placebo effect, that's a very real, powerful thing anyway. Anyway, getting sidetracked, but that is kind of getting to the whole superhuman ability thing, right? So what got her interested in this whole superhuman stuff was she came across this documentary called Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible. So this is a documentary I never heard of, and then I just went ahead and looked up the trailer for it now. And it looks pretty cool. Essentially, it's about the jaw-dropping experiences of individuals with extrasensory powers that seem to defy the laws of physics known to man today. And just in the trailer, it looks like it's kind of a lot around remote viewing stuff. And if anybody's been following my channel for a little bit, there was a time not very long ago where I was really kind of getting interested in the remote viewing stuff. I was doing little experiments for myself and collecting the data, and I was planning on doing a video series on my channel about it. And I still plan on doing that, one of these days, hopefully not too far from now. But I just totally lost my motivation to keep doing my remote viewing experiments and tracking all of that. Up until this point, I have, I think, 5 or maybe 6 attempts under my belt. So at some point in the future, I still plan on bringing that thing out, but it's just kind of on the back burner for now. Anyway, so a few months after that, she started to get interested in trying to become a certified instructor for something called extraocular vision, right? Where they essentially teach primarily kids, but also adults, how to see blindfolded. All right, so a bit more to say on that. I dedicated 3 months to the tasks of activating this ability, but each time I tried, I felt frustrated. I tried everything from long hours of meditation to extensive energy work with Qigong, but nothing seemed to work until I decided to let go of the expectation and the desire of the outcome. Eventually, she was successful though. Being able to see blindfolded was fun at the beginning, but when I started to pay closer attention to my life, I noticed how my inner voice gained strength, how my intuition was heightened, and it was my true self showing me the way. I was able to hear subtle sounds and to feel subtle energies around me, like the frequencies emitted by plants, trees, and animals. I was able to connect to the knowing. And, not really much more to say besides that, but, that is something that also interests me a lot. Kind of on the same level of the whole Reiki thing, but even if I have a hard time believing that's truly possible in my mind, that doesn't stop me from wanting to go ahead and experiment with it and try to push on my belief systems and see if I could potentially make some groundbreaking maybe not even discovery, but just a groundbreaking thing enough to help challenge and change my general view of the world and things around me. Anyway, with that said, that wraps it up, and then in the next video I'll share my closing thoughts on this book. So until then, keep your dream work practice legit.